Hey guys, yes, it's another gun-related topic. To be honest, I'd rather that we left it alone as well and it would just go away. But it keeps coming up, and it is a huge topic. It's a really important topic, I think. So it probably does deserve the amount of time that it's been getting. But specifically, what this is about is there's been, on the front page of YouTube quite a lot the last couple of months, there's been a whole series of videos of people who've actually gone out intentionally carrying a gun specifically to challenge authority or to push the boundaries. So I'll give you the examples. There was one guy, or a number of them, that would take guns, depending on where they were. I think there were some guys that were wearing revolvers or pistols on their hips. There was another guy that was carrying a rifle over his shoulder, and then they go and stand. There was one guy in particular that I saw. He just went and stood at an intersection in a city, American city, and just stood there with his gun and waited for the cops to turn up because he knew that they would, you know. And specifically so that when the police turned up that he would confront them. The one that I'm talking about is actually he was a law student, and he'd obviously studied up on it. He had all his references, all the different court case references all memorized. So when the policeman turned up, you know, he said to the policeman turned up and said, "Look, just while I'm talking to you, just so that we can relax, can I just put this gun over here?" And the guys, look, to his credit, he was polite and he cooperated to a certain extent with the copper, but all he was doing was basically challenging the cop on the law. So then it was like the cop saying, "Look, just so I can talk to you, can we just put your gun over here?" And he's saying, "I'm not consenting to be searched. I'm not consenting to give up my gun." And the policeman said, "Look, some people have called in and said that there's a guy standing in the intersection with a gun. That's why I'm here. So just while I'm talking to you, can I just put the gun over here?" And ended up with a big discussion about the law until eventually the cop's supervisor turned up and said, "This guy can just go on his way," right? And then there was another one that was same idea but different execution. He wanted to exercise his right to carry a gun in a school, right? In his kid's school. So what he did is he called up the cops and told them he was going to do it, and he called up the school and told them he was going to do it, and then he turned up at the school carrying a gun, wearing a gun, and then proceeded to go to something, his kid's classroom or something, and went in amongst the kids to kids' classroom. Which, in light of the school shootings that have been happening in America, is quite incredible, really. So the point that these guys, or the reason these guys say that they're doing this is to exercise their rights. So they're saying that if they don't exercise their rights, they'll lose them. That's their justification for what they're doing. So it's not like they're just going about their life and carrying a gun because they're legally allowed to do so, and the policeman stops them in the line of something else, and it's not like that. They're specifically saying, right, I'm free this afternoon, so I'm going to go and stand in the intersection in the city with a gun and wait for the police to come. Which is obviously what they're doing, because they're setting themselves up with their cameras. You know, the law student had his camera ready to go on him and just was standing in an intersection, basically. And there's been a number of those that do it. And I imagine what happens is people see this on YouTube, it gets 2 million views, and then someone else goes and does it. And, you know, goes and puts a camera on, gets a gun and goes and stands on the intersection and waits for the police to come. And the school guy was the same, that, you know, he's got to exercise his rights to carry a gun. So a few things about this that just I find absolutely amazing is that these people who are obviously very obsessed with rights, with people's rights, which we need people like that in society to make sure that they campaign for people's rights. It's important. But to be so obsessed with rights but only consider our own rights. So under the law where these people happen to live, they're allowed to be doing these specific things. That's their point, is that they're exercising their right to do it because they have a right to do it. But what they're totally ignoring is the rights of the people around them not to feel distressed. You know, in a country where, you know, every day people are being shot in public places by people with guns, to then go and specifically stand in a place publicly with a gun out in the open, specifically to attract attention, is a pretty selfish thing to do. The reason the cops are responding to this, and nobody's debating this at all, the cop says, I'm here because some people have called it in. And the guys know that they've stood on the street corner knowing that the public would report it and the police would come. That's the whole plan. So, in other words, they've known that the plan was that they were going to disturb or make other people concerned, other citizens concerned, as they would be. I mean, if you're living in a country where every day people are shot in public places by people with guns, and statistically it's true that every day in America somebody's shot by a gun, and then you see some guy standing on a street corner with a gun, just standing there for no apparent reason, not going about his life, and you happen to glimpse a gun under his jacket or something, but just standing on a street corner with a gun, of course people are going to be concerned. And what about the rights of those people not to feel afraid? You know, a lot of people are really afraid by guns. I carried a gun for 20 years. I know this is the case. That, you know, I'd walk into some place and it was my job. I had to carry a gun because of my job. So it wasn't a choice. I wasn't doing it to exercise my right. I was doing it because it was my job. But when I'd walk into a place, people would move away. If I walked into a place to buy something, people standing at the counter next to me would move further away, because guns made them uncomfortable. Or they'd be looking at it. You could see people are uncomfortable. I used to wear it as little as possible for that reason, or I'd wear it concealed for that reason, because it made people really uncomfortable. And then people would tell you, you know, well, you got a gun, oh gee, that's scary. You know, it makes people uncomfortable, and particularly in a country where people are getting shot all the time. Constantly traumatised. A lot of people are really traumatised by those shootings. You know, they read about it and they're feeling unsafe in their society. And then there's a dude standing on the street corner with a rifle or a pistol, just standing there. You know, what the hell? You know, I'm not going over there. What's he doing? You know, is he going to suddenly lose it and start shooting everybody? What's he doing? They don't know who he is. They don't know he's just some law student out to exercise his rights. You know, it strikes me as an extremely selfish thing to do. If the law says that you're allowed to carry a gun in public and you're allowed to carry it in your day-to-day life, well, that's great. And you want to do it, that's fine. But this is going one step further. You know, it's all very well to debate everybody, you know, these guys have the right to carry their guns, but specifically going out, like, I'm going to take my gun, I'm going to go put my camera on, I'm going to go down and stand on the street and wait until enough people are worried that they ring up and call the police, and when the police come, I'm going to argue with them it's my right to carry a gun, and then I'm going to come home again. What a selfish thing to do. Seriously, it's a childish, selfish thing to do. You know, it's all about, I know my rights. Well, the other thing is, and the same as at the school, imagine being a school student or a teacher or a parent, and not everybody would have been told that that guy was coming to that school. Imagine being a parent or a student sitting in a classroom and suddenly a guy comes walking down the corridor with a gun. In light of what's been happening in America, Jesus, how do you think those people would feel? Oh shit, there's a gun out there. And even in that video, he actually mentioned that. He actually mentioned that, oh geez, I hope we don't upset anybody else. He acknowledged the fact that it could well be that students and parents could be traumatised by it. So he recognised it, but he did it anyway. And the argument is that they're doing it because they want to, if you don't exercise the right, it'll get taken away from you. Okay, so that's why they're doing all this, and that's why, you know, they're challenging the cops. I think it would have an opposite effect. I think there'd be citizens that would be neutral about guns, and that just, you know, and we get a lot of that in our comments. We get a lot of really seriously pro-gun people, we get a lot of seriously anti-gun people, and then we get some people that just don't care. They go, yeah, well, it's the law. They're allowed to have a gun. That's fine. And I think until you give people a reason to go either way, a lot of people will just be on the fence and won't care. But you get somebody who sees someone standing on a street corner like that and finds it a bit traumatic, or that person's family, that young lady goes home at night and says to her family, there was a guy standing on the street corner today with a gun. You know, it was terrible. I was going to go to that shop over there, and those people that were traumatised by that might then become anti-gun. and say, this is crazy, we can't have people walking around the streets with guns. So I think that rather than support that right, or somehow make that right more secure or something, I think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think a lot of normal people are going to look at that and go, that's crazy, we shouldn't have that. He's not even going about his life, he's specifically coming out standing on the corner with his gun just so that everybody sees it, you know, and obviously a certain percentage will be traumatised by it. You know, not all people are comfortable with guns, you know. People who are right into guns don't see a problem with it. Oh, it's cool, he's got a gun, I got a gun, no problem. But Joe Public, you know, the average person, it's a terribly selfish thing to do. And I'm sure it's having the opposite effect that they think it will. And you know, you really have to question the motives of these guys that are doing it. Is it really in making the law any more secure, or is it really guaranteeing their right anymore just to be doing that? They say you've got to exercise your right or you lose it. Well, do you? Do you? Just specifically do it? You know, carry the gun, but carry it concealed, or carry it in a way that you're just going about your life. Don't stand on the street corner waiting for the cops to come. And then the next thing is, who would be a cop in America? Every day you risk being shot. Just go every day you go to work, you risk being shot. And then you've got the people who aren't criminals, who are out provoking cops. If I was a cop in America and there's a guy standing on a street corner with a gun, you know, there was another one. This accounts for all these guys. I include all these guys in this, but there was one particular one recently who was out doing a hike with his son, because his son wanted his merit badge for scouts, right? Wanted to be a Queen Scout or something, so he's doing his merit badge. So this man and his son were out walking down a country road, right? And he had a gun on him, a pistol on him, in a holster, and he had a semi-automatic rifle, and he had it on a sling around his neck and was carrying it combat style. So he was carrying it so that it was, you know how they do when they're in combat, you know, you sling it around the neck and it's hanging here, so that even if they're doing something with their hands, they can put their hands on it and shoot, right? So he was carrying it slung across his chest, combat style, walking down a country road. And obviously lots of people have seen him and called it in and said, there's some guy, you know, walking down this road, you know, Rambo style with the gun, you know. So this cop in the middle of nowhere has pulled up to talk to this guy. Now, he's got it in the ready position, so it's in a position where you can just lift it up and fire. So it wasn't slung across his back, or it wasn't in a case, or it wasn't anything else. The guy's excuse for the rifle and the pistol was that in case they encountered wild animals, right, that he had to have both. Pistol wasn't enough. I would have thought a pistol was enough, or a rifle over the shoulder was enough, but no, he had to have it combat style, ready to go, and a pistol on his hip. Now, that cop's in the middle of nowhere, doesn't know this guy, you know, and anybody who's watched all those hundreds of shooting videos on YouTube where fathers and sons in trucks suddenly jump out and start shooting at the cops, you know, it's well possible, and there's a million videos like this on YouTube of dudes just sort of talking to the cops and suddenly they pull out a gun and start shooting at the cop, right? In America, it happens all the time, right? So there's a good chance this guy, the cop doesn't know, he's on his own, he walks up to this guy and the guy's got the gun ready to go, and all he has to do is this, bang, and the cop's dead. So the cop says, just let me take that off you. Just let me take that from you for a sec. Now, the pro-gun argument is that the cop doesn't have a right to do that, okay? The cop doesn't have a right to do that. It seems that the people that have these rights under the Constitution want their rights maintained, but they're not prepared to give it all. You know, if you're a law-abiding citizen and a cop walks up to you and you've got a gun there ready to go, do you really have a problem? If you're a law-abiding citizen, it's obviously he's a cop. You know, he's driving a cop car, you've been out in public attracting attention. We'll go back to the guy standing on the street corner again. He specifically stood there to provoke people to call the cops. They've called the cops come. He knows it's a cop. Okay, the tin hat guys that go, might not be a real cop. Bullshit. He knows it's a cop. The cop gets out of the car and comes up to him and starts talking to him. Now, wouldn't a decent law-abiding citizen say to him, here, look, just to diffuse the situation so this poor bastard that's just doing his job can relax, I'll just move my gun to a secure place beside me or somewhere else, or or take the magazine out of and open the rack, or do something to make the guy feel more relaxed. Really? You know, just something like that. Just to, you know, they stand there, they've got their gun, and the cop's saying, oh, I'd rather you didn't have that on you, and they, no, it's my right. It's my right. You know? It's just unbelievable. It's just selfish, and I think it says a lot about a society where everybody's concerned about their right and they're not thinking about anybody else's. And there's a lot of cop haters in America. I don't know why anybody would be a cop in America. I don't know why. That you go to work every day and risk your life, and then in return you've got people that are doing stuff like this just to make your life more. You know, these guys are law-abiding citizens who have a right to carry their gun, but they're doing it in such a selfish way that they're adding extra stress to the cops as well and wasting their time. You know, standing on the street corner until people call the cops, that's wasting the cops' time. Ridiculous. And then when he turns up, he's got to be faced with some guy he doesn't know, standing there with a gun. He doesn't know what the deal is. Why is this guy standing on a street corner? He wasn't going about his business. He's standing on the street corner, just waiting for the cops to be called. That's pretty scary. What's his reason? Is it one of these suicidal dudes that wants suicide by cop? What's his reason? And then he's not allowed to take his gun from him. You know, it's just selfish. If they had respect for their fellow citizens, they wouldn't be playing those stupid games in the first place. Sorry, they just wouldn't be. And if they had respect for their law enforcement people, they wouldn't be standing there provoking them, you know, and putting them in uncomfortable situations. The day will happen where one of these assholes gets killed. You know, one of these dudes with his bloody, you know, rifle in the ready position's you're not taking my gun, and someone's going to get shot. You know, that guy on the side of the road, that happened. The cop's saying, come on, just give me this. He's saying, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you. And the cop's going, come on, just give me this rifle. No, I'm not going to give it to you. You know, I could just see the day's going to happen where one of these guys gets shot. Either the policeman gets shot, or the guy who's fighting for his rights gets shot. It's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous, you know. And the thing is that all the arguments about why this is a good thing to do, I think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think that the good law-abiding people who aren't into guns, who don't really care either way, are going to start to care and start to say this is ridiculous, and it might just swing more people anti-gun. You know, and that democratic system that's going there, you get enough people that go in that anti-gun direction, the politicians will start to swing too, then you will lose your guns if you allow that sort of shit to continue. Because it's not responsible. You know, it's all very well, not every rule about life is written in that constitution. There's other rules about life as well. Consideration for other people. You know, a little bit of consideration for other people and their comfort. And if you don't respect that, oh, I don't have to do that, I've got a right to do this. I remember there was an Obama rally once, and some dude turned up with a semi-automatic rifle over his shoulder at some function that the president was coming to exercise his right. And there's people around the place concerned about that. Really, lots of people, you know, what a selfish dick. You know, and I think that if these guys those of you who are pro-gun, who want to keep your guns, you need to start getting onto those guys that are doing this shit, because they're not doing you a favour. They're really not. You know, they're really not. They keep doing that sort of shit. There'll be other people who start to swing the other way and say this is ridiculous. We can't have dickheads standing on the street corner provoking cops with their guns just because they want to prove a point. Ridiculous. And it's all over YouTube. Search it on YouTube. They've generally got confrontational titles like, you know, that one was like law student schools cop on the law, or the other one was ex-combat soldier provoked by police. So search police gun rights and you'll probably get up hundreds of them. These dudes, it's a real trend at the moment. And dudes are seeing it on YouTube, I think, and strapping on their camera and their gun and going out and standing on a street corner and making their own YouTube video, you know, just ridiculous. So it'll make an interesting YouTube video when there's actual shooting because of this, that some cop who is a bit more nervous than normal, or some dude that's a bit too slow to cooperate, or does something stupid and gets himself shot, to serve him right. Serve him right. Then the coroner says, what was he doing? Oh, well, he put on his gun and his camera to go make a YouTube video on the street corner with his rifle. And the cop didn't know what he was doing, and the guy pointed it at him and he shot him. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, anyway, the point is, we all keep seeing this stuff, we're allowed to comment on it. Okay? You know, if we all keep seeing this stuff on YouTube, it's going to get comments. It's going to get people like me in other countries who don't care. I mean, no one's going to be shooting me on a street corner here. But it's my fellow human beings over there in America, and it concerns the shit out of me that innocent people are being traumatised by guns, either by being shot by them or just being around them unnecessarily. You know? Just because some one dude wants to exercise his rights, everybody else is made to feel uncomfortable. Well, not everybody, but lots of other people are made to feel uncomfortable. It's ridiculous. It's a selfish society if it behaves like that. Or a selfish individual, or a bunch of selfish individuals, you know. So, anyway, just some thoughts. Interested to hear your thoughts. If we can all keep them polite and civilised, that'd be wonderful. More videos coming soon.